coming alive!
For me!
Yes, she's for you.
Yes, for me. For me! The Bride of Frankenstein.
No, just the bride.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's retrospective covering The Bride.
The new woman, independent, free, as bold and as proud as a man. A woman equal to ourselves.
Hosted by Brock.
Yes, I'm a man, in every sense of the word, if you catch my drift.
Arnie.
Here's a man that's been mistreated in his life.
And Stuart.
You're a man to be reckoned with in my books. You're a man of virtue.
This episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and strong language.
Scared?
We hope you enjoy the show.
One day, Clavell, she will astonish you.
Today, we're discussing The Bride, starring Sting, Jennifer Beals, Geraldine Page, Clancy Brown, Anthony Higgins, David Rappaport, directed by Frank Rodham. My name, if you're interested, is Arnaldo.
And Stuart.
And this is Brock.
And welcome to our Bride duology. Of all the movies from the 80s I never thought would get a very loose remake would be The Bride that Maggie Gyllenhaal is bringing back with Jake Gyllenhaal and Christian Bale, her Batman Dark Knight co-star, as Frankenstein, but it all started in the 80s with Sting.
I really wanted to see this movie when it came out. It was PG-13, and that was a pretty new rating, and I was just getting into horror. And yes, the fact that it had a rock star in it, and I hadn't been allowed to see Fleshdance, but she was in it, I was thinking, oh my God, someone take me. And my brother would play this cruel game all the time. The worst one was Poltergeist 2. He would go see it with his high school friends, and then come back and go, no, it was really bad, I'm not going again. And I'd be like, damn it, take me to The Bride. He's like, nope, I saw it, it was terrible. I'm not going to take you to that film. I forgive you, Craig, for not taking me to The Bride back in 1985, but I really thought I wanted to.
This movie was one of those movies that was always on television. We had cable growing up in the early 80s. There was like all these movies that would constantly get heavy rotation, especially movies that didn't do too well would go to cable pretty soon afterwards and be run to death. But I knew this movie by reputation only. And I do like The Police. I do like Sting as an artist. To me, the guy was in Dune. So I wasn't necessarily wanting to see his next movie being The Bride. I had no reason to see this, but it was always on TV. So the fact that I didn't see it back then with such a heavy rotation on all the cable channels is like a minor miracle. But yeah, I missed it. This is the first time I've ever seen it. But this movie's sort of notorious for people our age.
And I remember this movie coming out. I remember it being about the Bride of Frankenstein. I had heard of Fleshdance, but didn't see it at that age. So I hadn't seen anything with Jennifer Beals. Sting, I kind of liked a few Police songs. I was never really deeply into them. I hadn't seen Dune until like a decade later. At this point, he was really wanting to be an actor, though. He was doing a lot of various acting projects. I found an old clip from MTV where they interviewed him on the set of The Bride, and he was talking about how he had to hurry and be done with The Bride in order to go work with Meryl Streep in a film called Plenty. It was Meryl Streep, Sam Neill, and Sting.
That's right. It's hilarious. I forgot about that film.
Yeah, I never heard of it until he talked about it on MTV in 1984. And this is the time he'd also break up with the Police because he wanted to do his music, not anything Copeland wanted.
Yeah, and let's be clear. I mean, in the 80s, music video had excited and changed the way we experience music and music stars. You could be ugly in the 70s and have hit records. Yes. You had to be sexy and cool and have a thing going for you. You were already cinematic if you were a star in the music world. They were trying like hell around this time. Madonna, Prince, Cyndi Lauper would get her movie. Everybody that was big. We're going to get you a film. We're going to see if we can translate what you do in a music video on the big screen. And yeah, of course they tried to make that happen for Sting. I don't think it ever did. I don't think he ever had a hit film. I looked to see who made this film, who wrote this film. I'm usually intrigued by the person tasked with trying to reinvent an old property like Bride of Frankenstein. This guy seems to be, his cred was he had already worked with rock stars. Quadrophenia, the Who album. It's the less famous one. Everyone remembers Tommy. I don't know that many people remember Quadrophenia, but he made that film.
Yeah, he's the director, Frank Rodham here. He did do a director's commentary, or I'll dare say a director's apology on a recent Blu-ray disc. I mean, he and Clancy Brown were the only two who came back to do bonus features. They did interviews, and then the director did a commentary. And they've had 40 years of knowing what the reception of this movie is, and spoke to it very bluntly. I did not know what the reception of this movie was when I first watched it, though. I came into this pretty blind. I thought this was liked back in the 80s. The fact that I remember it at all, I thought meant that it had done something right.
It doesn't even have a hit song. It's not even like Sting did like music for it or something like that. It cost $14 million. It opened in 11th place. It opened behind Return of the Living Dead, Fright Night. It tied with Weird Science in its third week, which is like the comedy version of the same story, and barely made $4 million in its entire run. So huge money loser, huge egg on their face for this production.
And it's not like this movie cost a ton. If you can't tell by looking at it.
14 million?
Yeah, 14 million.
That's a lot of money in the 80s. That's half of Ghostbusters. It just doesn't look like it should cost that much. No, this is a highly unprofitable film. And again, you would expect big buzz having a rock star. You would expect it to have energy. It's alive. And man, Arnie, why don't you give him the plot and we can find out if there is anything to talk about in this rehash.
Dr. Charles Frankenstein, played by Sting, has given life to a bride for his monster, played by Clancy Brown. This mate, played by Jennifer Beals, rejects the giant monster. The beast rampages in Frankenstein's lab, causing several explosions. Afterward, the bride has no memory of her resurrection, and Frankenstein believes his original creation dead in the fire. But the monster did survive. Feeling unloved and unwanted, he wanders aimlessly until he encounters a little person named Ronaldo, played by David Rappaport. The two become friends, and Ronaldo gets them both a job in the circus, where Ronaldo does a high-wire trapeze comedy act. Ronaldo makes the monster feel good about himself and even names the monster Victor. But Ronaldo and Victor were too profitable, leading the circus owner Magar to resentment. Magar's assistant Bella cuts Ronaldo's safety harness wire, and Ronaldo falls from the trapeze to his death.
And everyone's wondering why you're talking about the circus when this is the Bride of Frankenstein.
Heartbroken, Victor returns to Castle Frankenstein.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Frankenstein is falling in love with his creation, who he named Eva. He teaches her so she can become the perfect mate, equal to a man. She believes she was found in the forest by Frankenstein and nursed back to health. She starts to get romantic with Captain Joseph Scholden, played by Cary Elwes, which makes Frankenstein jealous. Frankenstein confronts Eva and tells her the truth about her monstrous origin and that he owns her. Victor has watched Eva from afar and wants to woo his intended, but he feels unable. Then the circus performers catch up to him and lock him in a cell. But when Frankenstein tries to rape Eva, Victor can feel Eva's distress through the force.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you're calling it.
Well, it seemed like the Force to me, too.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Victor breaks out of his cell, saves Eva, and battles Frankenstein. The angry doctor is killed. Then Victor and Eva decide to go together to Venice as credits roll.
I'm just so glad they spare us the shot of them in a gondola together, arm in arm. That would have been too much.
They couldn't afford the shot.
Yeah, 14 million. Yeah, just couldn't do it.
They didn't have a wide shot. It was all close-ups, and it almost looked like they were in front of like a projection of water. But we'll get there. That's way at the end of the movie. We have a whole other movie to talk about before we get there.
Yeah, the biggest gambit is they start with the laboratory. You think it's jumping right into the story that we're just eager to get going. We're in the lab. A storm is rolling in. There are characters we'll never meet again, like this Igor character running up and setting up the lightning rods, and some other dude is there throwing switches, and there are legs and severed heads and jars and all of these body parts and a mummy at the center of it all, suspended below a disco ball, and zap, zap, zap. What the hell? Where did she come from? This character will be asking throughout the movie, where did I come from? I ask you guys, where did the bride come from?
I assumed she was just like Frankenstein, and like in The Bride of Frankenstein, a bunch of corpses stitched together, just much better stitching work than what was done the first time around. The V 2.0 was a lot more slick.
So yeah, they had all these body parts in these like giant vats, and they have small little jars full of things, and then when the electricity goes through the bride, all the other parts come alive as well. You were thinking about where the bride's coming from. I'm wondering where the lighting is coming from. All of these giant canisters are lit from above. They have candles on a candelabra above the Frankenstein monster, but where is the rest of the light coming from? It was so frustrating to me that right out of the gate, they decided that, yeah, we're in a castle, but, they have electricity. Even though we're using candles, it's going to be okay. No one's going to notice. If they're noticing that everything is lit, it's not that kind of movie. Oh, it's that kind of movie. You've got to not blatantly ignore the aesthetic you're going for by actually having electrical lights everywhere in your creepy gothic laboratory. Right away, I'm like, oh crap, this is the kind of movie we're going to get. He's not going to care about the details. He's here to do something different.
I appreciate that they're trying to jump into it and tell us something new, because we all kind of have an understanding. I don't think probably most of the audience for this, not that there was one, but the theoretical audience wouldn't have ever seen the old black and white movie. But you know the image, right? And you certainly know how she's supposed to look like. It's the 80s. You can have big hair. I want to see Jennifer Beals with some streaks. And they don't really have a look for her. She just looks like Jennifer Beals.
She is the worst choice of a movie full of bad choices. I understand why you would pick her coming off of Fleshdance. That movie was a phenomenon, and I've seen it. It sucks. She's not good in it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like that movie at all.
Okay, I've never seen it.
Here's the thing. It is the first movie that really popularized that Simpson Bruckheimer rock video montage style. It was all about the music and the editing and the dancing, and the story really sucked.
It did have two big songs.
And a soundtrack that went on forever, and I think the song won the Oscar, but the soundtrack, that and Footloose like a year or two later, defined the 80s movie soundtrack. So yes, getting Jennifer Beals here is a get. They got Jennifer Beals. And yes, she is not good in this movie. She is completely miscast in this movie. And here's the problem. You have Sting, who's not known for his acting. Then you got Jennifer Beals, but she's not a strong enough actor to help Sting come across better. And that's just a recipe for disaster, because not only do both people who are in the leads have trouble performing, they have no chemistry on top of that.
No, and has Jennifer Beals ever been good? Honestly, she was a hit with Fleshdance. She continued to work. We talked about her in Vampire's Kiss. I think maybe she was well used in the 90s in Devil in a Blue Dress. And I think other than that, she has just been awful.
Awful might be a tad harsh. She seems unsure of how to do this. She is not set up for success. The mummy comes down, she pops out, everything is on fire, and then suddenly, like, characters that I barely got the name of, the Igor character is dead, some other dude is just dead, and Sting is putting her to bed and being like, it'll be okay. I'm like, wait, what happened? Suddenly we're given two radically different movies, and the bride doesn't seem to want to spend any time with Sting and Beals. My theory is there was a lot more with them And when the director got on set and realized how bad the chemistry was here, how terrible these actors were, how not rock star they are when they have to give lines, that they just cut the Bride of Frankenstein out of her own movie.
That is not anything Rodham has talked about. What he did say is that he knew Sting because he directed Quadrophenia, and Sting was in Quadrophenia right around the time Police had their first album. He was a nobody when Quadrophenia was made, but he'd stayed in touch with the director. The director thought, hey, I know Sting. Let's bring him in a small part. Let's bring him in the part we're going to end up giving to Cary Elwes. And the studio was like, no, you want money? We want the face of the Police on our poster. So Sting is now your Dr. Frankenstein, which isn't what Sting wanted. It isn't what the director wanted. And the director also wasn't gunning for Jennifer Beals. The studio loved having Jennifer Beals there. There was a lot of studio interference with this film. And so I don't think he didn't film what was in the script. I don't even think it's not here on the screen. I just think it's not really well written to begin with from the script by Lloyd Fonneville, whoever that is.
You tell me why most of this movie is set in the circus then. You tell me why we have a movie about the Bride of Frankenstein that is largely about the monster meeting a little person and going on a quest to find a circus and Venice and have nothing to do with Jennifer Beals and Frankenstein.
The only thing I thought they were going for, although they took way too much time with the Frankenstein monster and his friend in the circus, is that what is humanity? What makes you human? What about people who look or are shaped or are created in a lab? Those folks that may not be what people think are traditional people, what makes them human and how they're more human than the person we know to be human in this story, aka the doctor, the Frankenstein. That's the only thing I thought he could go going for, would be to focus on the little we do on the Bride of Frankenstein, plus Frankenstein's monster himself and his friend Ronaldo. Otherwise, it makes zero sense to have the whole, half of the movie with the circus plot.
All right, let's start with Clancy Brown. Largely a character actor, usually in villainous roles. Shawshank Redemption, Starship Troopers, Carnival. He just shows up and he's usually someone you don't like. Here, they have made the perplexing choice not to give Frankenstein much makeup at all. No bolts in the neck, no green skin.
Well, he has scars. I kind of liked the look of him. I thought he was okay. Also, just for the younger people, yes, we know that he's also the voice of Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob SquarePants.
And a lot of people know him from Savage Opress from the Clone Wars. He does quite a bit of voice work. I like this guy a lot for being a character actor. So when I saw he was in this, I was excited. And then I saw the makeup and went, that's just not much.
No, they're not making him a monster. I hear he has scars. Yeah, there's latex on him. But if you're giving us Frankenstein, we all know that that's a creature, right? They have made the choice to basically make him Lenny. He's just a big, dumb oaf that's going to follow around and meet someone and just trail them and go do whatever they do.
No question, Mice of Men came to mind a lot. However, I think, as I mentioned, the humanity thing must have been top of mind.
Yeah, outsiders. He meets another outsider, that the little person's being picked on. That's how they meet, as he's being beaten by kids with sticks.
But the choice of his makeup is right there, too. If he looked like Boris Karloff's Frankenstein's monster, everyone would run away like crazy. You have to make him look more human, unless obviously a created monster in a lab, for any of this secondary plot to work. You couldn't have him look like Boris Karloff's monster, right? You couldn't do that. It wouldn't work.
I think he could have been put in a freak show in the circus and met the little person that way, and they didn't have to do it this way at all. And I think you really do want, again, it's the 80s. We want to see movie monster makeup effects. It says everything about this bride that they're just like, yeah, here's a dude. That's Frankenstein. It's just a blonde-haired, tall guy.
They were trying to go with something. And if you watch this movie, you'll notice, and Clancy Brown talked a bit about this, that in the early scenes, the makeup was more drastic. and they lessened the makeup as he went on to try to make him more visibly human as he became more emotionally human. So this was an artistic choice. It's a bad choice, and I don't know that there were good choices made here, but Clancy Brown, I said I like him. This is an early role for him, and he does not have the experience to play this monster. He is so broad and yet flat, and I never feel anything for him. I should feel pity or excitement or think of him as like a kicked puppy or something. I never care about this guy.
He's introduced as a monster, right? He comes in, mine. The reason why the lab burns is he grabs the girl and I think pulls down a cable that starts the fire. If he hadn't had a fit, then none of this would have happened. But he destroyed the lab. And then for the rest of it, yeah, he's this puppy dog.
I do want to mention that the assistant, the Igor guy, is Timothy Spall, who he's seen in 1,000 things. And he's so young. It's always fun and you see those kind of actors that you know in such an early big role for them, right? We'll have that later on with Cary Elwes too, as Pre-Princess Bride, right? That's fun. Yes, they get the monster out of the way so he's no longer a factor in the story. It's kind of like the movie treads water until they can get together at the end. They have to get them separated so they can come together, because if you've watched the original Bride of Frankenstein, which I did, I rewatched it before watching this one, just to get an idea of, what the story was in the original again, to be more familiar. Spoiler alert, you didn't have to do that. The Bride of Frankenstein is only in the last 5 minutes of her own movie there. So it's kind of a precedent that the Bride movies don't really have a lot to do with the Bride.
Yeah, but this is called The Bride. Sting and Jennifer Beals are the star. We're here for them. Clancy Brown is the nobody. Him following this little person to Budapest to be in the circus. Yes, of course, if the other storyline were stronger, we could see them as parallels. But as it is, this movie could have been called Big Top Pee-wee. It's more Big Top Pee-wee than it is The Bride.
I'll agree. The only person I like in this entire movie is David Rappaport. He brings energy. He brings life. He's acting against a plank of wood and giving his all. Clancy Brown talked about how the director was not really engaging him regarding performance, but David Rappaport was on the side and saying, Clancy, maybe try doing it this way. Maybe, giving him acting tips and performance tips and trying to help him find his character that way. David Rappaport is the only good thing in this entire movie, and he is great. He is so much fun as this little person who is not quite scheming and not quite Pollyanna, happy-go-lucky, but yet always keeping a positive attitude and knowing his worth and how to get it.
He has world weariness to him. He has experience behind him, and it conveyed that, yes, the world has maybe been cruel to me, but I'm still going to keep my positivity up. He absolutely is what you want to watch in this movie. The problem is I didn't come here to watch him.
I don't want to watch him in this movie because it's not his movie.
It's not supposed to be his movie. Now, I know this actor. He's very big in the 80s. His own TV show, The Wizard, right? He was in the Time Bandits movie. He's a bunch of other things. Those are two things that always stand out to me. I agree with Arnie that his performance is transcendent, especially compared to what's around him. But again, we're not here for him. And it gets to the point, then like 20 minutes into his first big scene, you're like, hey, wait a minute, where's Sting?
Yeah, that's the problem, is that we're here for the Bride and Charles Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, he meets a blind guy, right, and learns a life lesson. That's fine. You can give that to the little person. But I feel like most of this movie is them, and it's so obvious where this is going, too, about teaching him, one day you'll meet a girl and we'll go to Venice. It's so painful. Why didn't she like you? The monster's trying to explain that he had a girl once, and why didn't she like him? And that is an interesting question. Why didn't Jennifer Beals want Clancy Brown? I think the reason why they have this psychic link, and we see it in these early scenes, where she can be spinning around and he gets dizzy, or he cooks a chicken over an open fire and she's eating turkey and being like, I want chicken. So they have this connection. She's made of his parts, right? They're the same people.
I didn't get that. I don't think that there was much masculine in her or feminine in him.
The stuff in the jar is moving at the same time. I assume the dead bodies are taken and given to both.
See, I thought it was more about all these inanimate body parts all came alive, and Frankenstein was having ill effects because of the magic of the lightning and stuff. I didn't think it's all the same bodies.
They were all frying at the same time.
Yes, but I kind of thought it was more mystical than literal.
Okay, maybe. This movie will not tell you, so insert your own theory, but I assumed that the reason why they are connected and why they will end up together and they're perfect for each other is that they're the same person.
I don't think that was the intent. The director said that the psychic thing never played well enough and was never driven home well enough. I think if they were to have a psychic connection, it should have started at the beginning and not been her so repulsed by him right away.
They did. When she's up there by the disco ball frying, he's screaming too.
Right, but I think Arnie is saying is that they had no connection at the front because she screamed when she saw the monster. If they had any sort of connection, then it would have been shown there as, oh, she was more tender to him, but they were separated because of the fire. So he could have been all upset that he had a woman once. Let's be very clear. He had a woman for, 2 seconds, right?
Yeah, he was promised a woman. His creator said, I'll make you a woman.
And he saw her for a glimpse until the fire came. So theoretically, I think she also believes, as does Sting, that the monster died in the fire. They had no idea he was going to come back later. So the psychic link thing, it's just one of those bizarre things that happens every once in a while, and it's completely unexplained, but I'm so baffled by everything else going on that this force link thing bothers me probably less than it most likely would have in 10 other movies.
I barely noticed it the first time I watched it until the end, and then when I'm watching it the second time with the commentary on, he's drawing my attention to every instance, and I'm like, okay, but I don't get where, why, or how.
All right, let's talk about the real problem. So Clancy Brown and the little person are doing what they can, and it's overshadowing the fact that Sting and Jennifer Beals, it's so bizarre. We'll see Sting smoking and talking to some friend named Clerval, and they'll be like, I found her in the woods, and, we're going to train her like Pygmalion to be a woman. And then we never have those scenes. There's one scene of her going to a party and barking at a dog or cat or something.
I think she shrieks at the cat because she's afraid of it or something.
She hisses at the cat, yeah. And they have the dinner scene, and he gets mad. They had a few scenes of them trying to teach, but Sting has 2 modes. He's either brooding or he's yelling. It's all he's doing. And so the dinner scene, he yells at her or hits something away. He has nothing going on with her. And so that's not how you teach anybody anything. So how are you possibly going to learn from this guy who's yelling at her and hitting her and then trying to come on to her? It's just really uncomfortable the entire time. This other guy who is Sting's friend, Clerval, he's a horn dog. He just wants to, get in her proverbial pants. It's really an uncomfortable situation because Sting is not even listening to this guy talk about how pretty his bride is because he's trying to hide the fact that he's hot for his own creation. It's just a whole bunch of, I'm not getting anything off Sting's face to even tell me what I'm supposed to be thinking, and I have to do all this inferencing for myself. I cannot believe that Sting is worse cast in this movie than Jennifer Beals. As soon as Jennifer Beals appears on the screen with her eyes looking all lost, I said to myself, oh, she's miscast. The first moment that she was there, it took me 2 or 3 scenes to realize, oh, Sting is really miscast. It was amazing.
Yeah, I don't think she's the worst thing. I think he is.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah, because he has a heavier weight. He has to be the one to tell us why she's important, why he didn't give it to his creation, why he loves her. I mean, again, all of that is his work. And you do wonder if they had gone with somebody else. Arnie, I think you mentioned that you thought David Bowie was in this role. If they had gotten David Bowie for this role, I think we would have been with a much more mischievous, calculating character. But Sting is boring. He's brooding, and he seems to be mad all the time for no discernible reason, and just seems to get off on denying her. They have one scene with her running off to a mausoleum and him trying to explain dead, but there is no Rain in Spain Falls Mainly in the Plain. There is no moments of him teaching. He doesn't even teach her to ride a horse. She's just suddenly riding a horse. You have to do the thing. You have to show the chemistry happening. I presume it's on the editing room floor, because he would, of course, write scenes of him trying to make this feral creature into a proper lady.
I'm going to take it one step further. You said earlier on the show that Jennifer Beals is popular because Fleshdance was one of those music video movies. You have Sting. In the same year, we have Rocky IV, which is one montage after another montage after another montage with rock and roll songs. Where the hell is the rock song montage in this movie to do exactly what you're talking about? Millions of other movies do this with people going shopping and they come out with a closet and they have all different outfits on. They have a little montage with music. But you have Sting in your movie. Put a Sting song in your movie and have a montage of this woman learning how to be a person. It's right there. And they don't do it. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm thinking Sting didn't want to do music. I'm thinking he was trying to break out. He didn't want to be with the Police. His solo career hadn't really blossomed yet. He didn't do a song for Dune. I don't think he did a song for that Meryl Streep film. I kind of had all of Sting's solo albums, and I didn't have to pick up a soundtrack to a Meryl Streep film to have all his tracks. I was pretty obsessive with my Sting music collection in the 90s, and I didn't go there. So I think that's why you didn't do it, and the director had a vision of actual gothic romantic horror, and you don't put a pop song in for that. But I don't understand the entire impetus here, because to hear the director talk about this movie, the entire intent behind it was feminist Frankenstein, and that this was all going to be about a women's lib Frankenstein's bride. And we get here at the beginning Sting saying, I'm going to make her equal to a man. I'm going to make her as smart as a man.
Right. My Fair Lady.
Well, is that My Fair Lady? I thought he was just taming the shrew in that one.
No, that's My Fair Lady. And again, that movie is plenty long, and there are plenty of scenes of Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison doing stuff together.
And also there's a song in that movie, in that play, called Why Can't a Woman Be More Like a Man? There's a whole song about it.
Yes. Again, there's a musical model to follow to say we're doing this, but every scene gets left out except her wandering into a mausoleum and then her later going to some countess's whatever afternoon soiree and making eyes with the Princess Bride. Cary Elwes, in I think his first role.
Second. He had one other role before this. I didn't look up what it was, but he was still pretty inexperienced and got the role because he was pretty.
Now, wait a second. I love Cary Elwes from The Princess Bride. He's pretty good in Men in Tights, and he's been floating around now. We recently talked about him in Mission Impossible movies. Here's the problem. If Jennifer Beals has no interest in Sting, why do you cast a man who looks exactly like Sting for her to be falling in love with? It doesn't make any sense. Maybe you could say, oh, it's a parallel. He likes her. Like, no, not at all. It's a really bad casting, and I want Cary Elwes to get work, and I always will. But in this situation, what the hell were they thinking? Because this movie isn't about any of that stuff, and yet they still decide to cast someone who basically looks like Sting.
Yeah, this needed to be kinky. This needed to be rock star kinky. It's a kinky My Fair Lady. Isn't it creepy that a man that made a woman has fallen in love with that creation, and what's he going to make her do when there's a third party? Which you would make Frankenstein, quite frankly. You wouldn't make Cary Elwes.
Yeah, it's a little weird because Sting is coming on to Eva like a lover. Eva is treating Sting like a father figure. The monster Victor is kind of neither. And if Eva is into fancy men like Cary Elwes, then that's not going to bode well for Victor later.
And again, you barely notice these scenes because they're cut in between much longer scenes of the Frankenstein monster and the little guy. Once they get to the circus, they come up with this new act that is all the rage. Boy, you can just see it coming miles and miles away. I'm going to pretend to fall off this trapeze and die in the audience. Well, we all know how this is going to go.
The only thought I had is why they kept going back for very, very quick scenes of the bride and Sting in a field or whatever is for the passage of time. So they can get the little person and the monster to a next scene of, now we're closer to Budapest. That's the only way I thought they were trying to justify it.
And the psychic connection again. I mean, once the little person actually does, they cut his wire and he falls and dies and Frankenstein cries, we'll see that Jennifer Beals spontaneously cries too. Again, they want us to understand that those two are the soulmates. They're sleepless in Seattle. They're the ones that are going to end up together.
They want us to understand that, Stuart. They're doing a really bad way of...
Oh, the worst. The worst. And by the way, I don't want to see a Clancy Brown and Jennifer Beals rom-com. But they have more chemistry than Sting. Anyway, I don't know how much we need to belabor this circus stuff. It's obvious. I agree with you. Ronaldo has charm, but it's way overplayed. It's way foreshadowed that he's, the circus clearly. Everyone there hates him for some reason.
He's making them a lot of money, and they're very upset because he's only asking for his fair share that they agreed to pay him.
And it's not even like the guy that's in charge of it is got his own act. It's like, if you're the hit act, be nice to the hit act. This is better than anything else you got in the circus. But for whatever reason, he has this henchman called Bella.
For Lugosi.
I guess, And Bella's going to cut the wire and then later fight with the circus owner about, didn't you want me to? No! Boy, you should have worked that out.
Yeah, honestly, a conversation needed to be had.
Yeah. I thought you hated him and we were going to kill him. Nope. He makes us a lot of money and I wanted to keep him.
But we're still going to get a mob together to go after him.
Yes. That's what's crazy. No one loves Ronaldo. Even after he's dead, everyone comes out and just kind of goes, the little guy's dead. But boy, when the monster goes and throws Bella against the lion cage, they all want to kill him now. We love Bella for some reason. We're going to hunt you down. And so eventually, this Frankenstein monster is going to wander his way back to where he came from. Does he know who she is when they have this chance meeting outside the mausoleum?
Yes, he knows who she is.
But she doesn't know who he is.
Okay. And you get the sense that there's some understanding passing between them. He's in love. This is the girl that he's wanted, that he's been thinking about. Ronaldo talked him up that if you saved up enough money, you could buy her something nice and woo her. And he gets conned into buying some junk jewelry and trying to climb in her window to give it to her.
But the jeweler is a kind person who won't rip off this sweet-hearted Victor and is going to give him his money back and only keep 1 ruble or whatever for the necklace.
But why? Why not have the world be crueler? Who wouldn't take advantage of this guy? I guess, again, this guy is so sweet that nobody feels good about taking his money.
Except the circus people who are coming for him as a mob.
Yeah, it's so strange. Again, it's not calculated well. We all know that an angry mob comes for Frankenstein, but why these people when he only rightfully killed a man who murdered the number 1 selling point of that circus? I don't know.
And then when the mob catches Frankenstein's monster, they just put him in a cell. They don't burn him. They don't. What are their long-term plans here?
Yeah, not well thought out.
No, nothing here really is. It's just really bad. I hear you saying that they didn't want to music video this up. They wouldn't fix it, but they might help.
Might help a little bit.
Yeah, if I'll be wrapped around your finger or something as he's... You want this to be a musical? Or do you just want it to play over montage style?
I want a montage style, 1985 montage style. It's not hard to do. You want to sell some soundtracks, you want to get a hit song, and you want it to make, at least a high point for all of us watching this. One of the great things about watching 80s movies now is a lot of great songs come out of the 80s, and even the ones that weren't hits, it's so 80s that you enjoy the song anyway. There's a funny moment near the end here when Sting finally lets it known to the bride who she is, where she comes from, and what he wants from her. And he tells her that I've cobbled you together from pieces and parts. And I yelled at the screen as if they could hear me. And I said, no, you didn't. Because there's an early scene in the movie when it's a body double, but there's a nude Eva walking out of the room into Sting when he's brooding, drinking something, smoking something near a fireplace when she's completely nude. And there's not one scar, not one stitch, not anything. And in the original Bride of Frankenstein, she's wearing this big old canvas dress, but when she looks up, you can see the scar all the way around her jaw. So they keep her pretty, but they still have the scar. There's not even a birthmark on this woman. And you're telling me you cobble her together? I call BS on that.
PG-13, this is where it earns that PG-13. Most of this is G. Nothing happens here that would offend anyone. But yes, there is lighting specifically on her pubic area. Like, you can't miss it. Are they trying to sex it up? I don't know what this is supposed to accomplish, but it's underlining the fact that the only thing Sting seems to be interested in her is that she's hot. I feel like you could have added a storyline about he dug up his dead wife or something, right? That I had a woman in my life and she died, and I've turned my wife into the Bride of Frankenstein, and now I want her back. I don't know. You needed something. I can't fix this thing, but you needed something.
It didn't make any sense, though, if he cobbled her together, that she all of a sudden has nothing on her but beauty. And that disturbs me because it's not a story about inner beauty. It's a story about outer beauty because this guy comes off like a perv.
Necrophilia. That's what this is about.
Yeah, and so it's really strange that they don't even try to, again, like the lighting in the lab, they don't even give her one token scar anywhere visible. You can also say, how did I get this scar on my face? Oh, because when I found you in the forest, a tree fell on you. And then later on, you could say, hey, yeah, I kind of lied about that. I kind of stitched you together. You have one. All you need is one tiny scar to even make it, quote unquote, plausible. And it's not even here.
You know they didn't hire the star of Fleshdance to show up scarred.
No, not scarred. I'm talking like, even like a small one somewhere. You know, yes, I get it.
You get what I'm saying. No scars on her. She's a thing of beauty. I'm surprised they didn't put leg warmers on her and had her doing somersaults.
I do think you're asking for too much, Brock. I wish that there was something beyond her being beautiful as to why Sting wants anything to do with her. He educated her, but doesn't seem into her mind, and the more she tries to stand up for herself, the more he resents her. So I'm very confused about his entire motivation. He's like showing her off to others, but then jealous when she shows interest in Cary Elwes. It's just not well developed on screen.
It's definitely not well developed. There's one moment, and I feel like it's a winking moment, where he's trying to educate her, and she knows more than him. They're talking about Prometheus, and he's mentioning some other poet, and she brings up the Shelley version, because get it, ha ha ha, Percy Shelley and Mary Shelley and all of that. But it also shows that she knows more than he does. And I think that that gets him really angry at this creation. And we'll see, you're right, Sting has two modes. One is brooding, and he becomes angry Sting. Towards the end here, we have this ball. They've already gone to this party with this countess, and now he's throwing a glitter ball where they're all pretending to be in a snow globe. And it turns into a sex party with Beals slipping off with Cary Elwes.
The funniest part of this to me is that Cary Elwes isn't even into it. When they get interrupted, he's like, I don't care.
The girl means nothing to me. I'm like, wait, what? This is not even a love triangle? Nobody cares about her? Yeah, what is going on in this movie? And then it's just Sting wants to rape her. Who thought this was good for anyone's image? Jennifer Beals, Sting, the audience? Who wants to see this?
It was the 80s, and strangely, I think, given that they put rape in a Supergirl movie, it's just...
And Back to the Future, the same year.
But you don't want to see Sting, the star of this movie, and he has been. Like, there's been 5 scenes of him standing over her while she's sleeping, and then finally he's had enough and is throwing her down, and if he had little screen presence before, it's all depleted now.
And he's apparently a very slow rapist, because Victor is going to sense this. I feel weird calling Frankenstein's monster Victor because it's always been Victor Frankenstein. And so when I say Victor, I'm afraid people are thinking I mean Sting. But Clancy Brown as Victor the monster senses that Jennifer Beals' honor will be besmirched. And so he is able to Hulk out and break out of his bondage and go save her.
I mean, not only is this poorly set up, but I mean, even as action scenes, even as fight choreography with Charles getting a flaming log and setting him on fire, they end up at the lab again, and I think Sting gets thrown off the top of the building, but it's just not cinematic. Where did the money go? Where did the money go that this movie looks like such shit?
It went to these sets. They overspent. The studio was there literally pulling the plug on the film as they were filming these last scenes. The director said he learned from this to never again shoot the last scenes last. He begged the studio for enough money to go back and at least film the scene between Clancy Brown and Jennifer Beals at the very end. And they had literally one take and he wasn't happy with it. So the money was spent, but the director talks about crazy things like they built this castle in a place where I couldn't film it the way I wanted to. So we had to bring in choppers and move the castle back a few yards. So, I mean, I'm thinking bringing in choppers to move castles isn't cheap.
You know what? I'm blaming everyone. I get that the director was hampered by studio request. All directors are usually, unless they're a super diva. But he didn't get anything good out of this. It's not like I'm watching a good movie that got ruined. There hasn't been a single scene that's worked. And that includes this last one where Clancy Brown is now hot, or hot enough for Beals to run off and go to Venice just like the little person wanted to. I'm like, this is not even Victor's fantasy. This was the dead characters.
And is he hot now, or is it that she has come to realize that attractive men like Cary Elwes are shallow, and so she is finding love with the ugly guy?
Well, now wait a second. To be fair, she already had choices of two guys who look exactly the same, or this guy who's different looking. So maybe she's like, I've already had that. Let me try something more.
But no, they couldn't afford to go to Venice, and that's why it's stock footage over end credits.
Indeed.
Oh, God. Yeah. Wow. It's bad.
And then they have the little guy's lesson about his secret of life, and I'm like, that's what they're ending the movie on with him? Again, it's supposed to be about her, and they end the movie with a quote of his character about what his philosophy was. Not what the monster wants out of life,
Yeah.
but what the other guy, his friend, wanted.
Well, I think it's saying that Frankenstein learned to want this from the little guy. Like, everything the little guy lives on in Clancy Brown.
Okay, but that's still like living someone else's life for them instead of living your own.
Yeah, exactly. Next, he'll be up on the trapeze doing the stunt. I mean, yeah. He has no imagination, clearly.
Well, I can't imagine anyone's recommending this film, but Brock Stewart, what's your summation of 1985's The Bride? Brock.
If I ever had faith in Sting as an actor, I lose my faith now. He comes across so unlikable in this movie. Every little thing Jennifer Beals does is not magic. She is completely miscast in this, and I knew instantaneously, as I mentioned earlier. And they have their chemistry is like so bad, it's like the direction was by Sting, don't stand so close to me. This plot has Frankenstein's monster and his friend. It's like a Mice of Men took over the movie for half the runtime. Makes zero sense. This movie is king of painful to watch. I'd rather go walking on the moon without a spacesuit, and I hate this movie with every breath I take. Not recommend.
I saw what you did there.
I was saying to myself, this is kind of an Arnie thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have to have some fun. So I crammed in as many as I could, and I used Field of Gold earlier in the podcast, so I cut that part out.
Stewart.
I'm on board theoretically for what they're trying to do here. If they had actually made a twisted love triangle out of Bride of Frankenstein, that would have played in the 80s. I do think that there was something about Dr. Frankenstein falling in love with the woman he made for his monster that could have been interesting to watch. But Kinky My Fair Lady, I don't know what they're trying for. Sometimes it's splash, a lot of times it's just bad period film. Like, I feel like this is the kind of period film that makes people hate costume dramas. Like, you're afraid if you watch the next version of Jane Austen, it's going to be this dry-ass thing where people are wearing long gloves and sipping tea, and you're like, I hate movies like this. You hate movies like this, for sure. There's just not one interesting scene that happens in this film. Everyone is miscast and having no fun with the premise whatsoever. And yeah, I suppose Ronaldo is charming, but I really resent that this is Ronaldo at the circus, and that's the point of this film. That just makes me so angry how misguided this thing was. It's a sleepy nothing of a movie I can only recommend to insomniacs. I wanted to throw a switch and bring this thing to life, but it is DOA, strong not recommend.
Yeah, it's not alive! It's not alive! This 1985 relic is a truly lifeless affair that proves the original Bride of Frankenstein was right. She belongs dead. If you're looking for a cinematic pulse, you will not find it here. This movie is a flat line from start to finish. But to keep from being completely grave, I'll start with what actually worked. I think the production value is surprisingly high. I think the sets look lush, the camera work is moody, the atmosphere is thick, and the real lightning in a bottle is David Rappaport. He effortlessly steals the show, play the only character on screen who feels like a living, breathing human being. He's the only actor on screen with the energy that feels like he wants to be in this film. And the Victor Ronaldo circus subplot is infinitely more compelling than anything involving our lead stars. And that brings us to the happy couple? I mean, Jennifer Beals is dead on arrival. She lacks the range and experience to sell an evolution from a wide-eyed childlike creation to a liberated modern woman. And then there's Sting, and this is not a joke. I had a typo in my notes where I called him Stink. And honestly, I think that's a Freudian slip of gothic proportions because he stinks up the screen as this brooding, ego-driven, horny scientist. It's baffling to me that while he was captivating world stages with the police, he couldn't manage a single volt of charisma here. He's less Dr. Frankenstein and more creepy guy at the bar who can't take a hint. And finally, the person who I like best in this cast as an actor overall, Clancy Brown. I will always have love for this man for his many character roles, so I take no joy in calling his presence here a casting lobotomy. His portrayal of the good-hearted monster is unintentionally hilarious. Between the distracting makeup appliances and a performance that goes full simple Jack, he creates a creature more cringe than classic. Then there's the psychic connection plot contrivance that's never introduced or properly developed. And yes, a lot of this blame has to fall at the feet of director Frank Rodham, but I also don't get any pleasure by tying him to the slab because he knows. He sees all the flaws, he read the reviews, he knows he fucked up, and everyone who watched this movie knows it too. So someone call the coroner because these corpses are starting to stink like the lead star. Save your mourning for a better movie. This is a strong Frankenstein strong, not recommend.
You know, Arnie, you mentioned the guy in the commentary calls himself out, but I've listened to commentaries like that with Sidney J. Furie on Superman 4 or Joel Schumacher on Batman and Robin. And while it's noble that they call it out themselves, that they acknowledge that all the flaws are there, they're still the ones that made the decisions. They're still the one who went along with it. They're still the one who went along with the studio interference and played ball. And their name is still on it. So while I certainly enjoyed listening to these two commentaries, and I've listened to them numerous times, the ones I've mentioned, I don't think it's okay that this man is trying to save face now. I think it'd be better off of him not saying anything at this point and letting it go. Because honestly, the less people remember about this movie, the better. I don't care if he's trying to save face or trying to come off humorous in his mocking of a movie his name is on. I didn't listen to the commentary, you did. I just know that kind of thing doesn't sit very well with me overall.
And again, he didn't rebound and have more hit movies. He made a couple other flops, and then he basically developed MasterChef. This is a cooking show in England. So better a chef, I imagine, than trying to tell stories.
Well, maybe the next time we revisit The Bride with Maggie Gyllenhaal's film, it'll have more life to it. In the meantime, another notorious stinker. I've heard nothing good about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Oh, you've never seen it? Yeah, Helena Bonham Carter will be stepping into the beehive hairdo, trying to make out with a lisping Robert De Niro.
I've never seen it either. I know this movie as well by reputation. But I do want to point something out. You mentioned earlier in the new movie, it's going to be Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster. Here you have Robert De Niro. As we're recording this, we had recently talked about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and Jacob Elordi, he got an Oscar nomination for the role of Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein's monster attracts a lot of actors want to play that role. They want to have their rendition of it. It's kind of like Hamlet almost. They really want to play it. And the fact that Robert De Niro got a chance to play it and it didn't go over well to many audiences is something I'm greatly looking forward to watching and discussing with you guys on that show, because in my mind, Frankenstein's monster, Robert De Niro, that's a great idea.
In my mind, that's awful. I mean, Frankenstein's monster should be big and hulking, and Robert De Niro is short and kind of lithe, or in Meet the Parents, dad body. I don't really see this as Frankenstein.
We'll talk about it next week, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is not the Frankenstein's monster of Boris Karloff. It's a different character in the book, and that's why you think Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Kenneth Branagh, and Robert De Niro, it might be something to watch.
Yes, true to the source material. You know, Kenneth Branagh is the director of it, and yes, he was known at that time for being a really good adapter of Shakespeare. I think everyone's reputation, Bonham Carter, De Niro, Branagh, they will all be damaged by what you were about to watch. But that's my memory of one viewing of it back in the 90s.
Well, I'm looking forward to having that conversation with some knowledge behind it based on nothing. Right now, I'm just talking about what it looks like on paper and why one would want to watch it. I'm looking forward to seeing it and talking about it with you guys on our next podcast.
They made it to win Oscars, but it came closer to Razzies.
And meanwhile, this Friday, if you want some real horror without the gothic, we are finishing up our Strangers retrospective. The Strangers Chapter 3 at long last has been unleashed upon audiences, and we will be reviewing that final chapter, I believe the last nail in the Strangers' coffin.
And Rennie Harlan's. I'm pretty sure it's Rennie's last take on the characters, anyway.
Well, between his stuff and Pray at Night, I think The Strangers is going to be a horror footnote of people saying, remember that one film from way back when? I don't think it's going to be the franchise that Lionsgate had been hoping it would be, but we'll find out on Friday. You know, I've found some things to enjoy in the first two parts. Will that trend continue? We'll find out on Friday. If you are a Don't Be a Stranger donor direct to us or a platinum level patron on Patreon, you can join us for all these Strangers reviews. And we do have another bonus show coming up, a live show. We're going to once again be doing a live stream during the Oscars on Sunday night, March 15th, starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Come to the Now Playing Podcast YouTube channel and join us as we watch Conan O'Brien host the 98th Academy Awards show. And not only are we going to be commenting on the show, you can actually win something. Not a gold statue, but we are having an Oscars bracket open where you pick who you think's going to win each category of the Oscars. And the winner of this is going to get a year of our top-level Patreon access with complete access to our entire back history of podcasts, plus a signed copy of our book. And second place will also get a copy of our book and a year of platinum-level patron access. You can fill out the bracket right now at nowplayingpodcast.com/Oscar, singular, and then watch along with us on March 15th to see who takes home the statues. We look forward to seeing you live then. And Stuart, Brock, thank you for joining me. And until next week, remember, Follow your dream. It's the key to everything.
Splendid, marvellous, brilliant drama. Can we go now?
Yes.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
There's nothing left to do now but live.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
That's something to remember, isn't it?
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
You must trust me, and you must obey me.
I will not obey you! I will not!
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
I've been round the world a time or two, and I've travelled with many men for a long way or a short way, and I can't say I've ever had better company than I've had with you.
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Transformers.
How far can we go?
As far as you like.
Plus, we have individual movie reviews, such as Titanic, E.T., Inception, Big Hero 6, Ready Player One, Pulp Fiction, Apocalypse Now, Dr. Strangelove, and hundreds more.
I think we're going to like it.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
Until death do us part.
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
Can anybody help me? Please.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at NowPlayingPodcast.com.
Will you do something? Will you do something?
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews.
It's the key to everything. Dream.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
You didn't create me! You didn't create me!
As a matter of fact, I did.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
Everything we did, we did it on purpose.
Now Playing is edited by Santiago and Arnie.
We dug you up and we brought you back to life.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
We're but children picking up shells beside the great unexplored ocean of the truth.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
There's a lesson to be learnt here, and I hope to God I never learn it.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
What are you sorry for? Did you do something wrong? Something you thought you might get away with?
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2026, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Monstrous.
Come here to watch him.
I don't want to watch him in this movie because it's not his movie.
It's not supposed to be his movie. Now, I know this actor. He's very big in the 80s. Time Bandits, he had a show
Is that
on...
a pun?
No, it was not a pun. I'm not making little people jokes here, folks. I'm actually a fan of this guy. I've seen him in a lot of things.
He had his own TV show.
His own
The
TV
Wizard.
show, The Wizard, right? He was in the Time Bandits movie. He's...